In today's day and age, when evil forces vigorously wage war against the fundamentals of Christianity by giving people false hope through materialism and secularism, the most vulnerable victims of this warfare are the youth. Television programs and social networks bombard young people with images of celebrities and politicians who proudly live immoral lives and preach messages that go against all of the teachings of the Holy Church.
Our society is departing further and further from its Christian underpinnings, in the face of forces which are, if not outright anti-church, at the very least, unhelpful.
But despite all of these horrors, there are still those among the youth who try not to succumb to the temptations of this world. And for this reason, the Russian Church abroad hosts the annual St. Herman's Youth Conference. On December 22nd through 26th, 2013, a group of approximately 75 high school and college-aged Orthodox Christians gathered in Long Island to continue this tradition.
Here the youth can fortify their faith and receive a dose of immunity.
For over 30 years, youth have been gathering together in spiritual retreat every December to glorify the memory of the first Orthodox missionary to America, St. Herman of Alaska, whose memory is celebrated on December 25th. The St. Herman's Youth Conferences have usually been organized in various ROCOR parishes throughout the Eastern American and Canadian dioceses until recently, when the Mid-American and Western American dioceses began hosting similar conferences in an effort to attract more young people. This year, the Eastern St. Herman's Conference was jointly hosted by St. Seraphim Memorial Church in Seacliff, New York, and Holy Virgin Intercession Church in Glen Cove, New York. This 2013 conference program included lectures by world-renowned homilist and spiritual author Archpriest Andrei Tkachov of Kiev and Archpriest Anastasia Trellis of Somerville, South Carolina, as well as various workshops, question and answer sessions, social activities like caroling and a talent show, and, of course, the divine services for the Feast of St. Herman.
The idea was that because, of course, we celebrate our Christmas on the 7th of January, old calendar Christmas, that we wanted to give the kids, the youth, the opportunity to spend those days that they were, out of school, on vacation, together with the other Orthodox youth, so that they were able to express themselves and ask questions.
This type of interaction between young people and the clergy is perhaps one of the most important aspects of these conferences. Approximately 10 clerics from the Eastern American and Canadian dioceses took time off from their busy schedules to participate in the conference as speakers, confessors, and simply friends to the youth.
You get the impression that there's nothing off limits. They are very approachable. When the lectures finish, they don't run away, but instead they mingle with the youth who have an opportunity to talk to them or simply receive a blessing.
During the meals and between lectures, the clergy would mingle with the youth and even share in edifying jokes with them.
They not only run the official parts of the conference, but try to talk to us on everyday topics. They try to support our jokes and we support theirs. And when we do this, we create an atmosphere of absolutely non-formal interaction.
While it may seem strange that clerics would joke around with the youth, this type of interaction ultimately leads to something more.
We joke together today and the youth get that, yes, I can approach him. And tomorrow, they'll approach Batyushka with more serious life problems.
While many of their peers are vacationing on the beach or at ski resorts, the participants of St. Herman's Conference chose to spend their winter break in a spiritual environment. To the average American college student, this would seem rather strange and even uncool. Religious conferences may have gained a stigma as being boring, and one might expect that the activities and discussions at them would be mundane. But this was certainly not the case at St. Herman's Conference.
You can just relax at the beach, but here we can better understand ourselves and get acquainted with other young people.
Typically when you say you're going to a youth conference, a youth camp, the first thing that comes to mind for most kids is, oh my God, kids with no teeth, no eyes, they're really geeks. And once someone has come to one of these conferences, they realize there are normal kids out there, just like me.
It is absolutely cool to go to St. Herman's Conference. This is my 6th year going.
Ksenia Yarashchuk admitted that when she first started coming to St. Herman's Conference, it was because she wanted to be with her friends, and not because she was particularly concerned with its spiritual benefits.
You'll be a great Matushka. You'll be a great Matushka.
Well, when I first started coming to conference, it was because I had friends who were going and I didn't really know that much about like the spiritual benefits that I would gain from it. But then I found that it was so nice to meet with people from all over the world or the country who had similar interests as I did, so we could bond on both a spiritual level and just as friends on a daily basis.
When asked to give an example of these shared interests, she spoke about the awkward moment when her peers invited her to a party on a Saturday night.
I want to live a normal college life, but I also know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know I'm supposed to be going to church. And you can't really discuss that with someone who isn't Orthodox. They're not going to understand necessarily. But you come here and you get to have these discussions with people who understand what it's like to be an American 20-year-old and at the same time be an Orthodox Christian.
Conference participants were given an opportunity to submit questions on pieces of paper, which were distributed to the clergy who had set time limits during which they could offer answers.
Я думал, ответы будут ограничиться да, нет.
I thought the answers would be limited to yes or no, but they had allotted time, say 3 minutes, and this was often not enough to accommodate their answers.
We had this one kind of discussion where we're like, okay, plan out your college schedule on a daily basis. And it just makes it like really, really relevant. And so you're like, it's not like you're just talking about these concepts that you zone out in. Like, they make sense.
Is exaggerating the truth a sin?
Exaggerating the truth is sin. In other words, stretching the truth.
We're talking about a normal marriage.
Main thing is orthodoxy.
What are your thoughts on sustainability and the environment?
It's not very good to become radical at anything.
То есть даже святые люди не могут выморить иногда.
Why was Russia called Holy Russia?
Does the church recognize the green movement? If so, how?
And sometimes some of us have even been with people as they die.
I am perplexed with this question.
Archpriest George Lagodich of Montreal is one of the clerics who participated in the conference and believes that spending time with the youth benefits him just as much as it does them.
There's a satisfaction you just can't put into words. When you see someone grow up, you see someone who's actually made it in this world. It goes beyond being a pastor. It beyond it's just being able to actually do something for somebody else. It shows me that there is hope for our youth in this world by seeing this.
Young people are our future. This is not some tired cliche. These are truly the people who, God willing, will one day bid us on our final farewell.
If we don't work with the youth, if we don't try to bring them together, if we don't try to attract them to common fellowship, how are we supposed to, keep them together? How are we supposed to ensure a future for ourselves, for our parishes? That's important. If we don't have any youth, we don't have a future.
The key to a bright future for the Church is promoting healthy marriages between Orthodox men and women so that their children can be raised under the auspices of the Church. St. Herman's Conference not only provides the youth with access to clergy, but also allows them to meet potential spouses. Archbishop Gabriel recalled something that he heard during the 1988 St. Herman's Conference.
Our Metropolitan at the time, Metropolitan Vitali, of blessed memory, he, when in his opening remarks, that's exactly what he said. He said, there are 200 of you today, and that means that we want to see, 100 marriages within, I don't know how many years, 5, 10 years. And of course, that kind of stuck.
It is like a great opportunity to meet people, and like it is the running joke kind of like who's the next couple to get married and who's going to end up together. And
ultimately, jokes aside, that's exactly what we're hoping for.
Of all of the different spiritual opportunities which were offered to the youth, the greatest was the ability to unite around the Holy Eucharist. This was the culmination of the 4-day conference, during which the clergy gradually guided the youth toward the Holy Chalice. In their final moments before communion, the youth were addressed by Father Andrei Tkachov, who gave a sermon about the importance of partaking of the body and blood of Christ.
Я скажу вам сейчас 3 мысли, о которых можно думать, когда идет причастие. Если вы сами причащаетесь, конечно, вы просите, Господи, не в суд и не в осуждение. Но если вы не причащаетесь сегодня, вы можете молиться о тех, кто причащается, и просить для них у Бога такого причастия, которое исцелит их душу и укрепит их веру. Вы можете молиться о себе, если вы сегодня не причащаетесь. И говорить, Господи, как жалко, что сегодня я к Тебе не иду, к чаше. Какой-то грех, какая-то печаль, какая-то забота стала между мною и Тобою, и я стою с закрытым ртом. But please, I ask you, my Lord, чтобы я вскоре причастился и ощутил Твою божественную сладость. 3, можно молиться, Господи, сделай так, чтобы причаститься пришли те, кто кто никогда еще не причащался. Если вы знаете, как хорош Господь и как с Ним сладко, вы должны иметь печаль о том, что не все это знают.
It is important to note that they were not forced to confess their sins, but rather were encouraged. Father George believes that this approach is the main reason that almost all of the youth received communion.
Quite a few of our youth who come to these conferences don't come with the thought that they're actually going to go to confession, communion. And what I find, something happens during the conferences, something touches them, and they decide at the last minute many times to go. I remember when I was younger, people would say, go to communion. You have to go to communion, go to this. So we went because we were told to do it. But as I've grown older, you actually start to see that Holy Communion actually does something for a person, okay? It changes them. My approach is to try and give them hope, to tell them that things will be okay, try to find the positive in things, not just the typical negatives.
With so many temptations facing today's youth, the clergy and organizers of the St. Herman's conferences are constantly trying to find new ways of applying the ancient faith to modern-day Orthodox Christians. This year's conference was yet another example of the effectiveness of this type of approach. The youth were able to immerse themselves in a spiritual world where they were not scolded or lectured on the fundamentals of orthodoxy, but rather were gently guided toward the light of Christ, who truly illumines all humanity.